Welcome to the Grand Theft World podcast, hosted and sponsored by the members of GrandTheftWorld.com. It's January 1st, 2023. This is episode 113. We got a lot of news to cover this week. You guys had a slow week because it's like a holiday week, but the news didn't stop getting weirder and weirder. So we're going to start off with stories. It's just a sample of what we'll cover for the next 6 or 7 hours as we take the news and we juxtapose it with the facts, the evidence, that which exists, and get a clearer understanding so we can make better decisions in life. So we'll cover stories like you might have heard of Peter Hotez. He's one of the obey the authority type of people on vaccines. He's made several appearances on the Joe Rogan show over the years. And the recent appearance that he made in the past week, we got to have some further insight into the depth of knowledge and breadth of wisdom that Peter Hotez is bringing to the table. Turns out we could also start taking nutritional guidance and advice from him, because for him, nutrition has no connection to health, and vaccines are the solution to everything, even though he's got some situations that might bring about questioning of that. But the juxtaposition, the double think, is not a problem for him.
Happy day after Christmas, everyone. And do we have a present for you? Santa has delivered officially on Twitter with Peter Hotez, he's most well known, I think, for his bow tie, but then secondly, most well known for being I think the biggest fan of vaccines on the face of the planet. And I don't say that just casually. He is like all in on every vaccine, but definitely the COVID vaccine. And so all in that I'm going to show you something I did a video about a while ago. And by the way, here's Ryan Christian of The Last American Vagabond here to opine as well. But he wanted surveillance even of what he called anti-vaxxers, and to really go after anti-vax aggression and just go after those people who didn't want the COVID vaccine and use the three-letter agencies to do it and really combat misinformation. And we'll talk about that in a second. But he really delivered on Rogan recently. As you see here, this is Dr. Corey retweeting the video. This might be my all-time favorite Joe Rogan moment. In just a few minutes, Peter Hotez inadvertently shows the world exactly what has gone wrong with our medical system and why his endless push for more vaccines will never create health.
Do you take care of your immune system in other ways? Do you take probiotics? Are you cautious about your diet?
I'm not as cautious about my diet as I should be. I'm a junk foodaholic, actually.
Well, that seems like a terrible thing for your health.
It is a terrible thing for my health, and something my wife is working on.
But that seems ridiculous for someone who works with health.
Yeah.
What's going on with you, man?
Sometimes, man, I just don't get it right.
How often?
What?
How often?
How often do I steal a bag of chips or something like that?
How often do you eat garbage?
I don't know. No, hopefully not every day, but
hopefully not every day.
Yeah, maybe a couple of times a week. That's what with Rachel, my daughter with autism. That's like our thing, is to go to the it's called the burger joint, or to Shake Shack to get a cheeseburger. We'll sneak some fries.
So you
live in large, we call it.
Like that mouth pleasure so much, you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of
I
health.
am, yeah. I have to concede that's the case.
Well, there's, I don't have to tell you, but there's a large body of data that connects poor diet to a host of diseases. Mm-hmm. That seems like a crazy decision for a guy in your line of work.
There you go. Sometimes it's not all brain. It's something else.
But if you ate healthy food, the thing is, your body starts craving healthy food. You start feeling
no question, results. No question about it.
Do you take vitamins?
I don't take vitamins.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think they do. I don't think they're needed, because most in the
American. Hold up. You don't think they're needed while you're eating junk food?
Well, hopefully I'm not only eating junk food.
Okay,
right?
But there's a large body of clinical research on the efficacy of vitamins, especially vitamins D, vitamins B.
I have taken vitamin D for periods, on the recommendation of my internist. Yeah.
What about essential fatty acids, which are great for your brain, fish oil, all these different things that are fantastic for inflammation?
I'm not going to argue with you.
What is going on with you, doctor?
You got it over me. Yeah.
Listen, but you would have a much better argument, don't you think?
You're making my wife stay here.
If you're taking care of yourself 100% instead of just concentrating.
But you still need your vaccines.
I'm sure you do, but vaccines aren't going to prevent cancer.
No, that's true.
Right.
That's true.
There's a lot of diseases.
Or diabetes or cardiovascular disease.
And a lot of these diseases are connected directly to diet.
Right.
But I mean,
what I'm thinking as I'm listening to him is the amount of compassion he has for himself and his bad decision making, and no compassion for the decisions of other people, which are probably actually good decisions, that he thinks are terrible decisions. We can talk about that in a second, but I just think it's interesting how much compassion and humor he has for his bad decision making, where he has written countless articles at this point about how there should be no mercy for people who make decisions that he thinks are the wrong health decisions.
We found out that the United States government, Fauci especially, ordered people not to do autopsies on the COVID death victims.
So we've been tracking the sudden spike of excess deaths this year around the world. We've been covering this story for a long time now. Why are country after country experiencing sudden, unexpected deaths? Question. I'll throw it out to you. You let me know your thoughts on this. Well, now we can add Germany to this list. Germany.
Should we define excess deaths?
Okay,
because we're not talking about deaths that are happening given, related to any given thing. The government sort of tracks normal death rates, birth and death rates around normal events, such as normally you get babies born in September because people conceive those babies around the holidays, that kind of thing. You get more drunk driving accidents around certain times of the month, for instance. And so the algorithm will give you a national average. And in most countries, we are seeing that average spike in recent months.
Yeah, recent months. So it's all across the board right now. So now we can add Germany to this list. Germany, excess deaths up 19%, according to the most recent data. Vice President, parliamentary vice president, calling for an investigation now into deaths and damages after the pathologists who examined these bodies at autopsy all said, hey, 30% of them all had one thing in common. He's saying that. He's a doctor. He's a pathologist in Germany. They're calling for a parliamentary investigation. Watch this German news report.
Gründen der deutlichen Übersterblichkeit, und auch Bundestagsvize Wolfgang Kubicki will es jetzt wissen. Im Interview mit der Welt fordert er jetzt eine Obduktion und Überprüfung von Todesfällen nach der Corona-Impfung. Kubicki bezieht sich dabei auf eine Studie von Heidelberger Pathologen Peter Schirmacher, der herausgefunden hatte, dass bei 30% aller von ihm untersuchten Fälle die Impfung die Todesursache gewesen sei.
So that's what the pathologist is saying. He's a doctor.
And he's saying this based on observation and asking for examinations.
He's seeing this in the autopsies.
And asking for investigations.
Yeah. So we're seeing this across the board now. We should probably maybe look into this and have an actual investigation, be allowed to freaking talk about it. Censorship, baby. Not allowed to talk about it. Do a Google search. Go to Yahoo News. Try to do searches. You can't find it. It's suppressed. That's why. German badass Christine Anderson wants answers for her country and Europe and the world. She's a member of European Parliament from Germany. She asks this question.
When these vaccines became available, we were promised it would prevent contraction and transmission of COVID-19. All governments around the world, EU Commission, everyone, basically repeated that, began harassing and intimidating people so they would take that promised game changer. Well, it turns out it was fake news, wasn't it? Somebody lied, and I want to know who lied.
So Germany is not alone in these huge spikes in excess deaths. Why are we just hearing about this? I'll ask that question again. Well, according to news reports from U.S. doctors, we're also learning that Dr. Fauci told coroners in the United States not to carry out autopsies. This is Dr. Ryan Cole, who admitted that Fauci was telling doctors, sorry, not necessary, don't do autopsies. Watch.
So what's happened to the autopsy, Ryan?
Well, Anthony Fauci told our government to tell people don't do autopsies on COVID patients. You cannot find that for which you do not look. I have a post 9-year-old on my desk, dead. I don't want to see one more child post ever on my desk. Are the autopsies starting to happen? You bet they are, finally, because people are saying, well, why wouldn't we do them? And in that same town from which this 9-year-old died, a healthy 22-year-old wrestler, after his third is now also coming to be on my desk so I can determine the cause of death there. We're told don't do autopsies, don't look.
There's also a good story this week. What George Soros doesn't want you to know about the Hunter Biden laptop, and there might be some overlap between those activities in Ukraine by Soros and the activities in Ukraine by NATO and the activities in Ukraine by Hunter Biden and Metabiota, his the group that was funding those labs over there that were doing things like testing COVID and testing COVID vaccines and biolabs that aren't supposed to be there. But Victoria Nuland, who works with Jeffrey Pyatt and George Soros to start the war in Ukraine in the first place, says there's nothing to see there. So there's a lot to get into with just a little story like that.
Let's talk about this story. So what are Democrats hiding in Ukraine? What is George Soros, the billionaire, hiding in Ukraine? What is Hunter Biden hiding in Ukraine? Turns out quite a bit. So much so that they had a game plan in place for when we all figured it out, when the jig was up, basically. Now, remember, the FBI had in its possession, just for some context here, the FBI had in its possession Hunter Biden's laptop in 2019, well before the election. Remember, 2019, yes. They had the laptop in place, right?
If we didn't believe that before yesterday, we do now, because Michael Schellenberger published the subpoena asking the laptop shop for it.
Yeah, so we know unequivocally that the FBI had it in their possession. We knew that a long time ago because the New York Post told us that was the case, but now we have confirmation of that.
But they were deplatformed for doing so. Now at least that is accepted information to talk about.
So that date is very important, 2019. And thanks to the documents unearthed in the Twitter files, we now know that George Soros funded a role-playing exercise in September of that year, 2020. Okay, just stay with me on this. This is freaking crazy. It was designed, this role-playing exercise, they gamed this whole thing out. George Soros and his merry band of freaks rolled this thing out, designed to hide Hunter Biden's shady business dealings in Ukraine. You can't make this up. Perhaps this is why he's been so worried about the destruction of his investments in Ukraine, or the destruction of Ukraine, because of all the land that he owns in Ukraine and the biolabs that he's been helping to fund in Ukraine, saying that civilization might not survive because Russia is going into Ukraine. Listen to George Soros. I've added some subtitles so you can understand Lizard Man.
Since the last Davos meeting, the course of history has changed dramatically. Russia invaded Ukraine. That has shaken Europe to its core. The European Union had been established to prevent such a thing from happening. Even when the fighting stops, as it eventually must, the situation will never revert to what it was before. The invasion may have been the beginning of the Third World War, and our civilization may not survive it.
So Mr. Sunshine was running a nonprofit group called Open Society Foundation that put on a fake multi-day event carried out by the Aspen Institute. In order to deal with bad news around Hunter Biden's shady business dealings. Let me repeat that. George Soros gamed out a whole multi-day event in which they played out a scenario where if something happened to Hunter Biden that showed his shady business dealings with his dad, we would have a game plan in place with the media to respond to it. Okay? I mean, really? This is true. So Michael Schellenberger reporting in the Twitter files, the organizer of this event was Vivian Schiller, the former CEO of NPR, the former head of news at Twitter, former general manager of New York Times, former chief digital officer of NBC News. Attendees included Meta's Facebook head of security policy and the top national security reporters for the New York Times, Washington Post, and others. Now, according to the Daily Caller, the training exercise was titled The Burisma Leak.
Also, this past week, we got the news that a man named Andrew Tate was arrested. You find out later he's detained, and you find out later it's him and his brother. And this is someone who was not on anyone's radar really last year, but through successful marketing campaigns and these sort of things became the most searched man on Google. So before you go searching who is Andrew Tate, know that you're not the first person to do that or ask that question this week, this month, this year, and that suddenly his outspoken nature started during COVID, escalated through Elon Musk putting him back on Twitter, and kind of climaxed with him saying a whole bunch of things to Greta Thunberg the other day, which then coincidentally resulted in his arrest, the raiding of his palatial home in Romania, and the incarceration of him and his brother for who knows how long. I don't think they're free yet. So the connection between Greta's tweets and tweet back and the pizza boxes, there was a bunch of speculation on all these things this week. You got to ask yourself, is that a distraction? Is the whole thing a distraction? Or is Tate quasi businessman out there giving advice and then also maybe speaking truth to power in ways that somebody picked up the phone and said, take this guy off the streets, give him a hard time. They've already tried to cancel him. Tate has been on the record in the past of saying they cancel you, then they arrest you, then they kill you. So he's like, it's step 2. So we'll look at stories like that tonight. Even if it's a distraction, then what are they distracting us from? What should we be looking at? These sort of things we can also look at throughout the evening.
Please bring me pizza and make sure that these boxes are not recycled.
A pizza box may have given Romanian police information in order to arrest Andrew Tate. Greta Thunberg's response was a tweet that said, quote, "This is what happens when you don't recycle your pizza boxes."
But we got other stories like the World Economic Forum has come up with this idea of 15-minute cities. Why does a city have a time length? Oh, because the city is as big as you can walk from, 15 minutes. Everything you need for the rest of your life is going to be within 15-minute walk. And you might say, well, what about my car? Well, you don't need a car because you're going to own nothing and you're going to like it. And part of their plan is creating these new type of camps where, a city where everything you need is within 15 minutes, just like olden days, Nazi times. They're trying to recreate that and bring that style back. Klaus already speaks like somebody who could wear an SS uniform. And now you're starting to see their plan is not that different from National Socialism. They just put the word world in front of it. World Socialism, the Great Reset is their plan.
The 15-minute cities that everyone is talking about now is the Great Reset's trendy new name for open-air prison camps. The idea is to corral everyone into neighborhoods small enough to walk from one end to the other in 15 minutes. Everything you need within a half-mile radius, so that you'll never, ever have to leave.
These Dutch cities are banning petrol and diesel delivery vehicles to tackle air pollution and climate change. From 2025, all deliveries must be made in electric vehicles in 14 cities across the Netherlands. It will prevent CO2 emissions equivalent to taking 216,000 cars off the road. And businesses will get to help make the switch with grants of 5,000 euros towards an electric van or lorry. The cities implementing zero emission zones include Amsterdam and Tilburg. Other areas around the world are also banning exhaust fumes. In the US, Santa Monica has set up a voluntary zero-emission delivery zone. The UK's first zero-emission street has opened in central London. Beach Street will be closed to polluting vehicles for 18 months. The scheme could expand into London's financial district in 2022. What's your city doing to encourage cleaner, climate-resilient transport? Brought to you by people who want to keep you in a 15-minute prison city. The World Economic Forum. I'm the Tyrannical Lisp.
While the post-edit Tyrannical Lisp voiceover is satire, it still reflects the truth. The Great Reset is pure fascism, hiding behind an effeminate homosexual veneer. Perhaps this is because some people see it as harmless, and others are rendered silent out of fear of being called homophobic. Or maybe fascism is just queer. Whatever the reason, there is nothing harmless about the Great Reset. The perpetrators of this outrageous plan are marketing it with a gentle tone, telling you that you will eat healthy, stay active, get around, and enjoy the outdoors in your tiny little open-air prison camp. These organizations are telling you that there isn't enough room for you because you are the reason that Mother Earth is sick. This is the subtext convincing people to not have children and persuading them to castrate the ones they have. Comfortable lies for the fearful. And those with the courage to see the truth can see that this is just an accounting issue. We the people are seen as livestock, looked down upon as useless eaters by godless psychopaths who want a more manageable herd to exploit for their own selfish desires, who want us to own nothing and be happy and eat the bugs. This plan was officially announced in 2015 and made actionable in 2017 with the goal of accomplishing most of it by 2030. Paris is being celebrated for leading the charge on the trendy new 15-minute city prison camps. But they are not alone. Melbourne, Australia is building theirs. And in America, New York City, Los Angeles, and Cleveland are doing the same. The right to travel. Courts have ruled that this presumed right is firmly established in U.S. law. But things have changed. Today, we are at risk of losing it all. And if we don't stand up for our own freedom, then who will?
Let's go to Luke Radowski of wearechange.org and thebestpoliticalshirts.com to get his Sunday broadcast on world events. And the first one that starts out, it's going to take a minute for it to develop. Let's just watch it together and see.
Over 100 countries are in some stage of developing a central
totalitarian top-down system. Definitely trustworthy. History tells us this all the time.
We need to look at solutions at the same time because it's 2023. We need to get a good, strong start. So coming up January 15th, we're hosting a mindset seminar. And then we're going to have a goal setting workshop. So the seminar is on the mindset you need to get progress so you'd actually formulate a goal for yourself. The workshop is one-on-one tutorial. Like, we're going to give you some structure, and then you're going to work out with another person and some guidance who's been there and done that, like a Sherpa. They're going to help guide you toward these goals, and you're going to be able to have a plan when you walk out of that meeting of what you'd like to do now in this first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. And at least you'll have a first draft of your goals. And then it's your job to attach those goals to your schedule and your calendar and build up the internal fortitude and the discipline to be able to show up for yourself consistently and provide value into the market if you're looking to extract value from the market in the form of payment and having money to do things in life. And money doesn't buy you happiness, but it does buy you peace of mind and mobility these days. And as they crunch down with all these rules and regulations, they're going to squeeze people who can't afford it first. So doing yourself a favor, the mindset seminar is free access. If you'd like the workshop, where we're going to do one-on-one for a couple hours with the help and tutelage of some leadership, That's $47. It's easy. If you're interested, it's an easy price for you to say yes to.
Welcome to the Autonomy Mindset and Goal Setting Workshop. This is the perfect event for you if you want to take control of your life and achieve your goals. You'll be guided through the process of goal setting and learn how to create achievable goals and develop a positive mindset. Our experienced team of coaches will be on hand to help you identify your strengths and weaknesses and equip you with the skills and tools you need to reach your goals. Join us for a fantastic day of learning, inspiration, and personal growth. You'll leave feeling empowered and motivated, ready to take on the world. The event will be held on Sunday, January 15th from 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Register early so you can secure your spot. So please don't hesitate to sign up for the Autonomy Mindset and Goal Setting Workshop.